Welcome back, everyone, to I Am Nylis. I'm your host, Nylis Rentschler, from Brandon, South Dakota. And we are going to talk about in the show today some of the best places to retire, retirement in general, also a little bit about the lottery, and also a little bit, again, we're going to bring up the coronavirus and some of the things that are going on around here in general, not just corona, just flu season, hopefully winding down to an end. So we're going to get right on it here in right after this. So did you ever think about buying a baseball cap or flag or anything like that? You might check out usspecialties.com. That's us-specialties.com. They're one of our sponsors, sponsoring this video today, and they have a lot of great caps. This cap here is also from US Specialties, and they have not only military style caps, they also have religious, faith-based, and Second Amendment, and first responder, as well as veteran and retiree type caps and flags and different things. It's really a great place. I go check them out. And again, that's us-specialties.com. That would be great to check out our sponsor, if you would. Okay, thanks. And we'll get back to everything here shortly. Well, we're back, and let's see what we got on the schedule today. It looks like retirement. How many out there have thought about retirement? Depending on your age, you might not have thought too much about it other than I need to save as much as I can for as long as I can, which is a very good thing. Trying to save early. My second youngest daughter, she would be number 6 in the family. She is doing real well in saving, and number 7's starting to learn too how to save, and some of the older ones they caught on maybe a little later than they should have, but they're catching on too. And even an old dog like me, it took me a while to figure that out, that what we were going to do for retirement or how we were going to deal with it. So but one of the things that you have, just not only saving, is trying to figure out where you're going to live. A lot of people, especially in this area, they've never moved away, so they're not going anywhere for retirement. Some of them, we do have some snowbirds. That's a common phrase, I think, around that everybody understands. And some of them, they do, after they retire, they travel down either to Arizona, Texas, Florida, one of those places. They go down there for a few months a year to get away from our winters, as we talked about in one of the other episodes. It can get quite cold sometimes here. This winter, though, seems to be pretty warm. So, but back to retirement. Well, one of the things that people look at, I think, is affordability and some of the other things that make a place where you retire worth it, and whether it's like the crime or culture, what do they have going on, the weather, of course, like we talked about, and affordability and wellness. Well, there was a study done by bankrate.com, and caught my eye. That study was done back in July 10th, 2019, if you look it up. And I'm going to throw up some screenshots from them as soon as I get them added with their logo on, so I don't get in trouble copyright-wise. I just want to give them credit. They did a study of all 50 states, and what really surprised me was the top 5. I mean, I did not expect number 1 at all, and it didn't surprise me too much that little old South Dakota ranked up in the top 5. That was that was something I thought might happen, but I was surprised at the others. And like I said, their ranking was primarily done. I'll quote them here. For this study, Bankrate looked at affordability, weather, and a number of other factors important to retirees. They also created an interactive tool on this page, which will change the results based on what your preferences are for retirement. So this is just their overall picture that they rated the top 5, and well, they rated all 50 states, so I'm going to cover what the top 5, and I think I'm going to point out a couple of the bottom ones here at the bottom because I thought that was interesting. So the top one, without any further ado, let's talk about number 1. Number 1, Nebraska. Yes, you heard right. Nebraska. Nebraska was number 1, and then came Iowa. And after that was Missouri. And then comes South Dakota. And then in number 5 position, not surprising but surprising, is Florida. So Florida ranked 5th in their averages here that they figured were the most important factors for retirees, which for South Dakota, it's kind of middle of the board. I think we probably scored pretty low in weather, which is understandable. I think we were 39th. Again, our weathers aren't always the greatest, but in the wintertime, but in summertime we do have really hot summer, so you will get the warmth. So that's why everybody comes back in the summertime, because they can keep in the warmth. But one of the things I noticed is in the top 5 here was that 2 of those top 5 have no state income tax, but the top 3 do. I think Nebraska's at 6.84% as the top state income tax. That's pretty hefty, and Iowa's all the way up at 8.53%. I thought that was extremely high. And another reason I don't live across the border in Iowa. Missouri's up to 5.9%. And like I said, South Dakota and Florida are at 0. There's no state income tax. So one more of a drawback to Florida would be when it comes to no state income tax is great, but their sales tax can be pretty high in some areas, depending on which metropolitan area you live in. It looks like their sales tax ranges from about an average of 7% all the way up to 8.5% for sales tax. And some of the other taxes that you pay when you buy new vehicles and stuff like that, those excise taxes, can be higher than South Dakota. South Dakota averages is 6.5%. Almost every place is 6.5%, except for a few, like on some of the Indian reservations, Pine Ridge, and some of the others. They have the local tax. They don't charge the 2%, which a lot of cities charge. They just charge the 4.5% state sales tax. So in South Dakota, 4.5% is our average, what is our state sales tax, and then 2% is pretty much what every city is gone to and charges. So it's pretty common all over the state. And some of the others, I didn't really look up Nebraska's, but I know Nebraska's is probably up in the average range around 7. I have to verify that, but anyway, the sales tax factor kind of plays into that. Plus, for me, retirement-wise, I don't see a reason to go anywhere that doesn't have a 0% sales income tax. Sorry, 0% income tax for income, because I think it's high enough. You know, you're paying your federal income tax, and when you retire, you're going to be paying tax on your Social Security, some of that, and you're going to pay tax on your pension from your company you're working for, or whatever retirement pension you're going to be paying tax on that. And then if you try to work part-time and do that, that just adds to more tax burden. So I find that a little bit wrong. I don't always think that, when you go into retirement, that you shouldn't be paying tax on money that you earned and put away. Now, I understand some of the pre-tax, like a Roth 401k, it's already taxed, so you're not going to get taxed when you're pulling it out, and those kind of things. So those play a big role in what you're doing, trying to figure out for your retirement. But so as far as that goes, I think we nailed it down that South Dakota is the best place to retire on this list. My point of view, yeah. Because of everything that's on there. So we got all the different factors, and yes, the weather. If you can deal with the weather, this is a fine place to park your RV and hang out in the summertime or call it home. That is something that I've noticed that people are doing, is they're registering. It's pretty easy to register here as a citizen or a resident. To register as a resident of South Dakota, and there's a lot of RV communities where people are registering here as this is your home of residence, and then they travel around and come back here and be here a few months of the year, but they travel. So their state income tax, they won't have to deal with state income tax. Now I know there's some other states. I think some of the other states that don't have state income tax there. There is 7 states, I guess, that don't have state income tax. Alaska, of course, with their oil revenues, and Florida, Nevada, their gambling revenues, South Dakota, Texas, again, probably because due to their oil revenues, and Washington, I'm not sure why, but in Wyoming, again, they probably have some oil revenues and some other stuff there that they're not too worried about it. In Washington, I did live there, and I don't remember the reason why they don't have a state income tax, but that was pretty good. I did like Washington area, so that's an option, but I think we're going to stick around South Dakota for now. We have considered going south to Texas, or we have a daughter down there. That is an option for us, but right now we're leaning to stay in South Dakota. We'll have to see. So I think I'm going to get to the worst side now. On bankrate.com, this rating that they did, and I'll throw this graphic up here, the bottom 10 actually. So in the bottom 10 we have number 40, our neighbor, Minnesota. Sorry, Minnesota. You ended up number 40. Below you, you have California at 43, and Nevada and Washington at 45 and 46. And the bottom of the rank, and here it is, I'll throw it up. Yes, Maryland. Maryland is number 50 in this list as the worst place to retire. And I've been to Maryland, I've been to all that DC area, and in my eyes, any of those areas around DC area is just prohibitive of retiring there unless you've made your fortune in something, because, and even then, I don't know why you would live there, because it's just so expensive. Just everything there is quite expensive, and it's a nice place to go visit. Oh, don't get me wrong, I go there for work, and I do like to go around and visit some of the stuff, and that definitely is something that's pretty decent and you can check out. But it just retiring, nope, don't think it's gonna happen, not for me anyway. I think some of the we'll kind of roll back a little bit to some of the better ones. like Nebraska and Iowa, Missouri, South Dakota, Florida. One of the things that stood out in their list here about South Dakota, which is not surprising to me, but they were surprised by it, was that they ranked pretty well in culture, like 12th in culture. And that was primarily because of we have like the second highest number of arts and entertainment and recreation businesses per capita. I know we don't have a lot of people here, but we have less than 1 million. But we have a lot of businesses that cater to the arts and entertainment and different recreation and stuff like that here, and that ranked us pretty high in culture. Also, our state average temperature is almost 46 degrees. I mean, average temperature, okay, it's not an average temperature of 70, but it still isn't the worst when it comes to the weather. So we didn't rank the lowest there. But some of the other things that I found interesting were like Nebraska. Bankrate.com article does point this out, and I think it's pretty funny because I think I've heard this before. Is Nebraska likes to let everybody know that Nebraska is not for everyone, as they say in some of their ad campaigns. And but there's a lot of places to go in all around Nebraska that, especially Omaha is a big city there, obviously the biggest city, and they have a lot of stuff going on there. And if you just go north Nebraska on I-80, you can head straight north and go up through Hot Springs and right up to the national park, Mount Rushmore National Park there. And so you're not far from on the west side of Nebraska going up to Mount Rushmore, which of course is in South Dakota. And that's a good place to go too. So it's nice to check out some of those different areas, and I would recommend if you've never been to the Midwest to come out here. A lot of my viewers are from the Midwest, so they already know what I'm talking about. But some of our viewers are out there in the outer reaches of the U.S. and I hope they have a chance to come to our area. We we have a lot to offer, I think, and it's a good place to retire. And I think that we're going to enjoy our retirement here. If we decide to stay here, we may bounce back and forth between here and one of the other places that our grandkids are at. But we'll see how that all goes. I've got a few years, about 10 years, give or take, depending on how we decide to retire. So we're going to go that way and see what comes about from that. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to talk a little bit about lottery. I found it, I don't know, I find the lottery interesting in some ways, and other ways I'm not too sure. There's a lot of talk about what the lottery is to a lot of people, and so a couple things I want to bring up about it, and then we'll go into some of my thoughts about it and how that's going to work out. A couple of the big ones, like Powerball, that one's in quite a few states. And then we have Mega Millions. That's another big one in a lot of the states. And a lot of these winners that win these big ones, I just sometimes I just can't even imagine how that would be, and if you win something like that. Although, you know, a lot of people dream about it and think about, well, what would we do if we won, and how much how would we spend the money and all those kind of things. And anyway, I was just going to mention about about the odds, because you know a lot of people talk about the odds, but the odds are astronomical to win. But like I think the Powerball, yeah, the Powerball odds are like 292,201,338 to 1. So it'd take you that many tickets to win the big grand prize. Of course, the odds are a lot better that you're going to get your money back on the ticket. That's like a 38 to 1 ratio. But you still have to buy 38 tickets, technically. I mean, if you were a full statistics person, to get your $4 back. So it's not something that's going to make you rich unless you get super lucky on a one-shot deal. Now, the Powerball, one of the things I find interesting with Powerball and Mega Millions is if you get all the numbers correct, you get a big prize, and that can be multiplied if you're doing the multiplication factor. Like Powerball, if it's 2x all the way up to 10x on that, if you get all 5 numbers right, you either get $1 million, or if you did the power play, you could get up to $2 million if it's more than 1. So it's 1 or 2 million, and that's a pretty big payday. Now, if it's the 4 numbers plus the Powerball, you get 50,000 if it's just 1, and then you get the multiplication factor. So if they have 10 times, you're going to, instead of 50,000, you're going to get 500,000. So I mean, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty enticing to people to play it. And one of the one of the people I know that plays, he said, well, if you don't play, you're not going to win, which is correct. I mean, but it also is a bit of money. I mean, if you play just one line and then choose the power play, I think a Powerball ticket, just one row of numbers, that's all it is for each draw, I think is $3. So I play it, I think there's 2 draws in a week, and if you do that, one line for 2 draws in a week is $6. So that's $6 a week to play that. And yeah, there's when you think about it, that's a little bit of money. That's like what, $156 in a year. Actually, it's more than that. It's double that. It's about $312 a year. Doing the math in my head real quick. And you got 52 weeks, and you're going to play that twice, and that's $6 for every week. That's $312 you're going to spend. And a lot of people think about, well, instead of spending that $312 and having absolute no chance to win, I'm going to take that $312, put it in my savings account, and I'm going to have lots of money in 20 years, and you're not going to have anything. And they're right, actually. They're right. And playing the lottery is something that you should only do if you don't mind throwing money to the wind, because that's pretty much what you're doing. Yes, you have a chance to win, and yes, it would be awesome if you won something, but the likelihood of it is near zero. I mean, so near zero that winning a big thing. I think the biggest thing I've ever won in playing the lotteries anywhere in the world. I've played the lottery in Germany and European lotteries, and I've played lottery here and throughout the United States. You know, when I get a chance, I'll grab a ticket here or there. And I played it all over the place. And I think the biggest I won was here last year. I went to cash in the ticket, and it said I needed to go to the lottery office. And I was like, whoa, I got something big now. And so I pulled it up, and sure enough, it was, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was a it was a Powerball. I had 3 numbers and the Powerball, which if I had one more number and the Powerball, I would have had $100,000. But no, I had 3 numbers in the Powerball, so I got $200. I looked at my numbers and looked them up real quick and saw that I had 3 numbers plus the Powerball, and I knew right away it was going to be at $200. But that's the most I've ever won, and I've played it. I played it a bit. I think since I got back to South Dakota, almost every week we've got a few tickets for a few of the draws, and figured, well, we're we're either going to win something or we're not, and so we just. I figure I'll have one less beer in the week, and there's my $6, and then I can play that. So, but yeah, so I was looking up a little bit here for the, and not for the lottery stuff that I wanted to talk about. And here today, March 2nd. It popped up in the news that somebody from Woodbury County over there in Iowa, Sioux City area, or actually Clive, Iowa. Holy smokes, that's a tongue twister. This guy, he looked at his, didn't even look at his ticket. Someone said something about, hey, did you check your ticket? Someone from around here won. He checked his numbers and he about fell down. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And so he went and cashed in his ticket, and he won the million, 1 million, because he had all 5 numbers correct, but didn't have the Powerball. So that so lucky for him, he won the million. Unlucky for him, he didn't win the big jackpot at the time. I think it was 80 plus million Powerball jackpot, and yeah, he missed out on that. But he's not all that old, so he's got plenty of time to try it again. But I doubt he would be quitting his job. I know I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, having $1 million is not something, because they're going to take 25% off the top. You're going to end up with 750. Iowa's going to take their, what did we say? Oh yeah, 8.53%. They're going to take on top of that 25%. And then because you'll probably be at the highest tax bracket because you're over 500,000, they're going to tack on another, another 12%. 37%. So that 25% they're going to take, and then they're going to take another 12% from you potentially at the end of the year. So you're going to lose 37% plus the 8.5%. So after that 45.5%, yeah, you're gonna have 550,000 left over. So I don't think you're going to quit your job for 550,000. At least you better not. Especially if you're as young as him, you're going to end up having a lot more years you're going to have to work. Even someone at my age, where I'm only about 10 years away, I'd pay everything off. And I don't know, have you thought of what you would do if you won the lottery, just a smaller one, especially like 50,000, 100,000, 500, 1 million? What would you do? Would you quit your job? Maybe you should leave some comments in our post here and let us know what you think. I personally would not, even being this close to retirement 10 years out. I would not. I would not quit my job for that. I would pay everything off, pay my house off. I would have more of that 1 million living in South Dakota, by the way. I would not have 550, what's left over. I would have 750, and then the extra 12%. So yes, okay, I would have 63%, that 630,000 versus 550. It's still not enough to retire on. But 630 would pay off my house and cars and those kind of things, maybe help out my kids just a little bit, do a little vacation, and then I'm right back to working. But I would not have a lot of bills hanging over my head, and mortgage, none of that stuff. I could save up to renovate my house and do some other things. So there's a lot of things I could do with that kind of money, but I definitely wouldn't go out and take and and try to retire. That wouldn't happen. So I think that's pretty much it on lottery. So the coronavirus here in South Dakota, we haven't had any cases. I'm looking at an update from this today, and there's no cases of the coronavirus here, but we do have quite a few flu cases. I don't have the exact numbers here for the flu cases, but primarily everybody, if you've seen what people are talking about out there, they're talking about to treat this like the flu virus, and in how you protect yourself and get out there, and when you're outside and you're traveling around and doing whatever, you should be washing your hands after everything, you touching stuff. You should be going into the bathroom and washing your hands before you even sit down to grab a bite to eat. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're at McDonald's or wherever. And careful touching surfaces like you're walking through, not necessarily in South Dakota, train stations, things like this, but we do have like bus stations and things like that. So making sure that you have hand sanitizer with you. That was a big thing at the home show. Everybody giving away hand sanitizer. Those are always good to have with you, and always be using hand sanitizer, and working on it like that. And right now, South Dakota is pretty sure that they're pretty low threat for coronavirus, and they're more ramping up talking to people about the influenza and some of the other stuff, because that right now is our bigger threat, is just keeping people healthy, and not them not doing something or doing something wrong for getting the flu virus and getting their flu shot for the regular flu virus and that. But here, the governor was talking about it, and there's, I think the total cases in the whole globe right now, this is as of last Friday, like 83,650, and that's been going up rapidly because, like in Italy and some of those other places we talked about last time. But I think here in the Midwest we're doing pretty well, except for there are some cases, some of the different bases. I think, I'm not sure if Omaha got anybody come there, but I know that here in the Midwest we don't have a lot of the cases up here. Now down in Texas they had some go down there. They're in California, some of the bases, and there's some other bases probably out in Washington. Washington's been hit kind of hard with some of their cases out there, that they had several deaths here in the last few days. I think we're up to 5 or 6 by now, maybe more by the time you see this. But yeah, here in the Midwest we're doing pretty well, staying out of the global part of this, and not being too involved, and not having too many, not having any cases actually so far. Knock on wood, I guess. But so far for us, we're doing okay. Kind of another, well, I'll put a ping in, or a poke in for retiring here in South Dakota. A virus has a hard time surviving here in the winter. It is wintertime, but it doesn't mean it can't. So, but we're doing pretty well here. I don't see that we're going to have a major issue with that. Now there is a website out there in South Dakota. We do have a website, and I'll either throw that up there or talk about it. It's South Dakota Secretary of Health. They have a website, Department of Health, DOH, and I will bring up their site, maybe the address, or show you the site doh.sd.gov for South Dakota. And most of the Department of Health in your state, you can look it up and see where your state's at, and see how close you are. I'm not sure if some of our neighbors have a site like that, but we definitely will check that out and see if there's any of the states that have here around here. I might throw up a couple of the pictures of the sites to let people know where to go. So as far as that goes, I mean, I think we're closing out on talking about that. Unless there's something major that happens, I'm gonna kind of pass that topic over, because I think I've killed it enough to talking about it this time, and the last couple times a little bit here and there. But again, washing your hands all the time, using hand sanitizer. At work, I have a big bottle of hand sanitizer on my desk, and I'm hitting it every time I come back from walking through the building and touching anything and doing whatever. I may be overboard, it might be too much, but a little precaution is worth it, not to get sick with any of these latest viruses. So I'm going to be signing off, and I want to thank usspecialties.com for the cap, and for the sponsorship of keeping this podcast, I Am Nylis, up and running for now. And I'm really glad to promote their products, because I like them. I've been using them for a while now. And so it's us-specialties.com, and they do have a sale going on right now for St. Patrick's Day. There's a St. Patrick's Day sale going on. Need to check that out, and at us-specialties.com. And we'll see you in our next podcast, and see what we will come up with then. I hope you enjoy yourself. Please subscribe, and you'll be notified, and hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified when we post again. We're posting pretty regularly at this pace, so we'll be talking to you soon. And thanks for watching.